Well, it's been described as what it is, the biggest miscarriage of justice in Britain's history, the wrongful prosecution of hundreds of post office workers.
Yes, and it is on the front page of The Mirror this morning. Why still no justice? It features today in The Sun as well. Post office scandal debunks the belief only private firms can be rotten, with an editorial as well. And in The Mail, there's a photograph there of Alan Bates, the humble hero who shamed the post office. And we spoke to the former sub-postmaster, Alan Bates, whose successful legal battle has been turned into an ITV drama, Mr Bates versus the Post Office, which is running all this week. He told us that despite being promised reimbursement, more than 20 years on, most of the victims have yet to receive any money at all.
There's a handful of what they call the low-hanging fruit that have received their money, but the bulk are certainly nowhere near that. They haven't even received offers yet. It's madness, but I think it's held up in the system, and I know that governments seem to say it's the lawyers that are holding up, but it's not the claimants' lawyers, it's government's lawyers that are holding this up.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that joining us now is the Minister responsible for the Post Office these days, Kevin Hollinrake. Hello, Mr Hollinrake. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
I mean, to quote two of Churchill's aphorisms, up with this we must not put, and action this day. What are you going to do to speed up the compensation process, number one?
I couldn't agree more. The key thing is getting the money out the door to the people who deserve that compensation. We are doing that. It's not right to say that nobody's had a penny. Every single person affected by this scandal has had at least an interim payment.
Not much.
Of around 2,000 people of the original 2,417 people on the original compensation scheme have been fully compensated, and they've accepted offers. All of them have had offers, so offers are coming down the line. We've got to make sure those offers are fair and reasonable and put people back in the place they would have been had this not happened.
But when you see it's going on and on and on, and I know Mr Bates is watching this interview, what would you say to him? He's demanding that you take action now.
I speak to Alan Bates regularly. I spoke to him at the back end of December about this. We've set a deadline of 7th of August to deliver this scheme. That's what we want to do. We have extended that deadline just in case there are some people who still need to be compensated. But of the around about 3,500 people who have been affected by this scandal, the majority have been compensated. We want to go further.
Hang on a minute.
We want to go faster.
I'm sorry. So, according to our briefing notes, it says there has been progress made on payments made for the 500 trailblazing postmasters who took the Post Office to court and exposed the Horizon scandal. You've paid out £27 million across 475 claimants. This includes 11 full and final settlements. A further 10 full and final settlements have been accepted, bringing the total number of accepted full and final settlements to 21.
There are three different cohorts.
Out of 500 in that particular scheme.
There are three different cohorts, three different schemes.
I understand, but let's just focus on that one.
Well, the original one at the Horizon shortfall scheme, I say 2,000 people out of the 2,417 people have been fully compensated and accepted offers. All have been made offers. Now, the other schemes, there's two other schemes.
Hang on, so there's a difference between accepting offers and being made offers.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're talking about, because there are three different schemes.
There are three different schemes.
So you're talking about the Horizon shortfall scheme, which is to try and set right the financial circumstances of those who lost money, and in many cases tens of thousands of pounds, because of this IT error. How many full and final settlements in that scheme have there been? I'm not talking about offers, I'm talking about settlements.
The Horizon shortfall scheme?
Yes.
Around 2,000 of the 2,417. 80% of the people who have been made offers have accepted those offers.
Right, so
they're working on the other 400, trying to get to a position.
Hundreds of people have still not had full and final settlement in that one particular
They've not
scheme.
accepted the offers they've been given.
Exactly right.
All the schemes have independent panels with experts on those panels.
So, and then the group litigation order scheme, and this is the Mr Bates versus the Post Office scheme. And out of that, only 21 full and final settlements. So again, hundreds of people still not received full compensation. We're talking about a scandal that began in 1999.
Yeah, you've got to understand the process that happened here. Those people were originally compensated through the court case. I was one of the backbenchers that stood up in Parliament and said this is not enough.
Yes.
£20,000 per person who went through that claim, because the majority of the claim, £57 million, was taken up by legal fees, or 40-odd million pounds in legal fees. I was one of the people, alongside Kevin Jones and other members of Parliament, saying we need to get a new compensation scheme for people who took the legal action, as well as the other people, so everybody gets fair payment.
What I think a lot of people are hearing is a lot of explanations for why the money's not been paid out, but not for instance, Grant Shapps said the money will be paid out by the end of last year, December 2022. 23. We are now in January 2024, and we're still hearing, well, the deadlines had to be extended because it's very complicated and there's lots of... Why can't we just pay them the money?
We want to do that. We want to pay them as quickly as possible. On one of the schemes, another scheme as well, the overturned convictions scheme, we brought forward... Hang
on, I'm going to interrupt you here, because what you're doing and what you've done so far is to give us an explanation as to the status quo. And you've defended your position and you've tried to explain what it is you've done so far. The fact is that the money needs to be paid out now.
Yeah,
my opening question to you was, what are you going to do to speed the process up? And you haven't answered that. Have you got any ideas at all in speeding up the process? Well, what?
Of course. We've made a commitment that anybody who's made who compiles their full claim will get an offer made based on that claim by 40 days, within 40 working days. That is a new commitment. We are still making the commitment to try and complete these schemes by the 7th of August. But what you see in that documentary and that drama that ITV have put together, and I applaud your efforts to do that, because this scandal needs bringing to light, and not least, as well as the compensation, people need to be held to account for it. But what we saw in that dramatisation is these situations are complex, highly complicated. Every different claim is different. So when you come forward and make your claim for not just for financial losses, but also for personal losses, for impact on your mental health, your physical health, your loss of your house, your divorce, all those claims have to be compiled by the lawyers, and then have to be looked at by the other side.
Doubting that they're complex.
By the other side of the equation.
It shouldn't be taken 25 years.
It is complex. I have dealt with a number of these
So you've put a deadline now on this, 7th of August.
That's when we want to deliver it by the 7th of August.
Right, we will hold you to that.
Please do.
So that when you receive a claim, you will process it and pay it within 40 days.
We will make an offer based on that claim within 40 days.
And, of course, it has to be an offer that the person thinks is a reasonable offer.
I entirely agree.
Yeah. So, more than 700 post office workers were wrongly prosecuted. I can't believe this. How many of those have been overturned?
93 of those have been overturned.
And yet there were 700.
We want to get more people to come forward. We can't force people to come forward. We've written to those people. So the Post Office has written to those people. The people in charge of overturning convictions have written to those people, the CCRC. So we want those people to come forward, but we can't force them to do that.
One of the things that came out of the drama is that people don't trust the legal system anymore.
I accept that.
They don't trust the legal system.
But we want them to come forward. What we've put in place now is those people overturn convictions. All they have to do is come forward. They don't even have to compile a claim. This is, again, a new initiative delivered by this government to say, you don't have to compile a claim. We can give you a fixed sum award of £600,000. You can take that money and walk away without having to evidence your claim.
This whole issue began with a useless computer system. It finished with barefaced lies. Senior post office executives and their operatives lied and lied and lied. They lied to MPs, they lied to the House of Commons, and they lied, most importantly of all, to the claimants. For example, the claimants who were calling for help were told that they were the only people that had a problem. There were hundreds that had a problem. They were specifically lied to and misled. That has brought an assumption that there are going to be prosecutions, criminal prosecutions. Do you support that?
Absolutely. If there's evidence there that people are guilty of a crime who at the post office, whatever level...
I mean, the evidence is there.
Well, it is not me, or probably you either, Richard, to judge what the police should take forward as a prosecution or not. That's an independent part of our system. I would welcome it. And I also think, you know, there are other things. Paula Vanell's got a CBE for service to the post office. I think that matter needs to be looked at by the...
Well, Mr Bates has that taken off now.
Well, if I've got to say, if I was Paula Vanel's, I would seriously look at the fact... Ultimately, you've got responsibility for what happened here, or the chief executive. If I was Paula Vanel's, I would seriously consider handing that back voluntarily at this point in time. But what we need, we've got an inquiry. Susan Williams is conducting that inquiry, looking at all the evidence. It will report, and that should identify who's responsible in the post office, or indeed potentially in Fujitsu. And those people, wherever possible, should be held to account.
The rise. Can I just ask you this principal question? Do you think that somebody whose lies and dishonesty has led to an innocent person going to jail should themselves be jailed? A simple quid pro quo.
That seems reasonable to me. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a prosecutor.
But it seems reasonable.
So there needs to be a legal route to that. But whether there's evidence of that and that can be prosecution can be taken forward, in this situation, I would welcome it.
Kevin Hollinrake, Minister for Postal Affairs, thank you very much indeed. And the former Chief Executive Officer of Post Office Limited, Paula Vanel's, previously said that she was truly sorry for the suffering caused to the 39 sub-postmasters as a result of their convictions, which were overturned. She intends to focus fully on working with the ongoing government inquiry to ensure that those affected get the answers that they deserve. That's just the right of reply for Paula Vanel's, but your call stands.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.